Hello, this is Rumble. This is Michael Moore. This is Rumble with Michael Moore, and our 12-day journey across Iowa is coming to an end. It has come to an end because the caucuses begin in about 3 hours, and it has been an incredible time that we've spent here in Iowa, meeting so many hundreds and really thousands of people. Every day of these 12 days has been filled with traveling with Bernie, massive rallies in the evening, but during the day, going to union halls, churches, coffee shops, post offices, anywhere there were voters. What we found here with this podcast is really the best part of every day was listening to people, and people would, see me on the street, or we'd tell people, hey, we're going to be, at this deli or this coffee shop or whatever for lunch if you want to come by. We'd post that on social media, and we not only got to meet so many great people, we got to hear so many stories of their lives. It was powerful. It was profound. It moved us deeply. And so what I'm going to give you here today on this last podcast from Iowa is our lunch. We recorded this a couple days ago at Smokey Row's Coffee Shop, and I just posted on Facebook, hey, if you want to come on over at lunchtime, I'd love to talk to you and hear from you. And a whole bunch of people showed up, and we had some of our recording equipment with us, but we have our phones, and they make wonderful recording devices. It's amazing how the technology now, we can really, even with the most minimal of devices, so much you can do. So that's what we did. And I in this final podcast from Iowa, I turn the microphone essentially over to people in the coffee shop. You'll hear me too, but generally, I want you to hear what just the everyday Iowan was thinking, was talking about, and it was fairly representative of what we heard throughout the week. So that's now this. Again, I'm operating from an iPhone, and with all due respect, of course, but it's coffee shops are loud, and there's all sorts of things going on. But I'm satisfied enough with the sound quality here, because the words and what they're saying and what they're feeling are more important than having some pristine in the soundproof studio type of recording. That's not what you're going to hear. You're going to be inside a coffee shop in Des Moines, Iowa, called Smokey Row, the Smokey Row. And it was neither smoky, and there wasn't any rowing going on. I don't know why that's the Smokey Row, but I never bothered to ask the owner. But he was kind enough to let us record, and that's what we did. I just want to mention that the underwriter for today's episode is Anchor Podcast Platform. These are the free podcast people that will help you or anybody who wants to start a podcast. They'll get you going, and they'll put you on all the platforms from Spotify to Apple and Google, Stitcher, and they do it for free. They don't charge you a dime. I mean, this is all about the democratization of audio so that everybody can have a voice online like this. And they've supported me in getting my podcast started, and for that I'm grateful. Don't forget to vote tonight if you are in Iowa, and remember, if you're 17, you can vote tonight if you're going to turn 18 by November 3rd, later this year. So 17-year-olds, if you're not even registered, you can register tonight right there at the caucus site. You go on the ACLU website, and they'll show you where your caucus site is. Just show up, register, and vote. This will be your first vote, 17-year-olds. If you know any 17-year-olds, tell them to come tonight. The doors open, I think, around 6 in most of these places. They start around 6:30, 7 o'clock, the caucusing. I personally hope that most of you will go to the corner of the gym or the classroom or whatever and vote for Bernie. But I'd actually just be happy if you just showed up, whoever you're for. and participate in this great democracy. That's the most important thing. So please do that. And now at the table at the Smokey Row.
Right on. Can I get everyone's names real quick?
Connie McCroskey.
I'm Erica Abushark.
Stephen Ruderman.
My name is Niels from Denmark.
I'm Caroline. I'm from Connecticut in Denmark.
Justine Masholi.
Darlene Lawler.
I'm Bill Lewis.
I'm lucky right now, but 6 months from today I turn 26, which means I'm knocked off.
You're knocked off the health care.
And I kind of have some, I don't want to say mental health problems, but let's just be open. I hate talking about this, but I have Asperger's, which has caused a lot of problems for me. I think it's a strength. It's what Greta Thunberg has.
First of all, millions of people have Asperger's.
Right.
It's not really. It's not. I mean, yes, it's not a mental health.
But it does cause, it's caused me to be like misunderstood.
Nobody's understood this.
People don't understand me, so it's very hard for me to get jobs. When I applied at an internship at KMBO, and I don't want to accuse them of anything, but I don't want to say where it was, but I applied for an internship with a local station in San Francisco, and I told them I had it, and I suspect that may have cost me the position. I was totally screwed, and I was a high school dropout because of it. The California education system is a complete and utter joke. And they funnel these kids in what they call non-public schools, which are for kids with behavior issues. And I didn't really have that. I had academic issues. And what's weird, I went from one of those after spending 2 years to a charter school, a religiously run charter school, by the way. I had a biology teacher who believed in creation. Public school.
Wow.
It's insane.
So, yeah, here's the thing. So you have to work overtime to try and hide your Asperger's.
I've been open about it before. Yeah. I want to be more open about it. Because I feel like I have to hide it or else I'm going to be scorned, I'm going to be discriminated against. And I just want to live a normal life. Like I'm not a monster. I have dreams. I want to be an announcer for the Giants someday. I came out here to Iowa on my own. I'm very independent, very capable. I'm going to New Hampshire next, and I have a lot of views. And I want to have a career where I'm an announcer for the Giants, a political talk show host, play music on the side, do anything.
Okay, check this out. My wife, she's a professor at Tufts.
Yeah.
We pay about $500-600 a month here for daycare. She has to finish out a semester there before she moves here permanently. And daycare there, the cheapest we could find that we would put our son is $1,600 a month.
Yeah, that's in my travels around the country. It's rarely under $200 a week or $800 a month, and in many parts like where you Tufts is in Boston. Yeah, so yes, it's $1,000. It's $1,500, $2,000 just so you can go to work.
When I told one of my Danish friends how much daycare costs in New York City for my big brother, she said her reply was, "Why would anybody return to work after having a baby?" Because it doesn't make sense financially.
Right. Well, this is what you'll also, I'm sure you've heard this. Oh, in Denmark, you pay so much taxes. You pay so many more taxes than we pay. You know, of course you have these things. And what I tell people is, actually, we are the most taxed country on earth. We just don't call it taxes. If we count your $1,600 a month in daycare times 12, that's $18,000 plus a year. Okay, that's a tax. Because if you're in France, it's $1 an hour. All right, because we don't have. Even if you have private health insurance, like if you're lucky enough to have a decent job that gives you after the deductible and everything else, as you know, because you're going through this. How are you doing, by the way?
I am blessed, thank you.
You're okay. You look good. Okay. But so you can confirm what I'm saying. You know this, she's a cancer patient. Out today.
We just talked about our expenses.
Yeah. So I think the average American spends somewhere around $10,000 a year on either co-pays, deductibles. You have to pay half the premium at your job, whatever it is.
80-20 is pretty normal around here. 80-20. In other words, you pay 20. Yeah. Yep. Deductible like $5,000.
Pharmaceuticals. And and like I was in London, I needed, I came down with the flu, went into the pharmacy, and it didn't matter that I was an American. They're not able to charge. I think there's no drug in any pharmacy. I'll have to, fact check this because I'm trying to remember what the guy said, but I think I remember it costing me what would be American dollars, $12, and like there's no drug for more than $12. And I remember this is back, especially when the new AZT inhibitors and things were being developed for AIDS and whatever, and people were paying thousands of dollars a month just to live. And again, so I remember saying to the pharmacist, so what if somebody has AIDS and they need that cocktail of pills? $12. He just kept going, $12. I just couldn't believe it.
I'm a pediatric resident.
Okay.
And so me and my husband both left medical school with like $300,000 in debt each.
Okay.
Each of us.
Okay. So let me just check because I know Denmark's situation, and it's the same in Canada, and well, most civilized, we'll call them civilized countries as opposed to where we live. But they not only, because they need doctors,
Right.
not only don't charge you,
They pay you.
they pay you
Yeah,
to go to college to be a doctor because we need you.
Yeah, I actually couldn't go to college because by the end of it, I would have ended up with $160,000 in debt. I didn't get any scholarships. It was my dream school. My best friend since middle school went there.
So what'd you end up doing?
So I'm working here now, and
Coffee shop?
I'm working here at a coffee shop, and I make just a little over minimum wage, and I don't really have any money to do anything except spend money on my bills. Got kicked out of my house just simply for turning 18, so I'm just stuck.
What did you want to do?
I was going for visual arts and music, which is what my friend is going for at the moment.
I don't know the order of those two things, of which we value the least in this country, visual arts or music. But it's it sounds like I'm making a joke.
Yeah.
But I'm not, and I'm angry.
Yeah,
and I'm angry. I'm so sad for you that you didn't get to go. And this fact now that when you add it up, that depending on what school you want to go to, that you would end up with $160,000 of student debt by the end of your 4 years.
Yeah, I was hoping to become a teacher, actually, like an art teacher.
Yeah, here's what I'm so sad about. We don't know what you would have ended up doing. We don't know how many of you are out there that would have gone on to create the next great invention, find the cure for her cancer. Who knows what we've lost in the brilliance of our youth simply because we've turned it into a capitalistic enterprise. And unless we can make a profit off you, we don't care what brilliant idea you've got in your head of how society would be better off with you being educated.
Yeah.
That's gone. We've given up on that. And it's so upsetting to hear your story. I'm really sorry. I mean, hopefully this will change. Bernie, we're going to elect a Democratic Senate. Things are going to get better. A lot of women are going to get elected this year. A lot of young women are inspired by AOC. They're running for all kinds of offices. I've seen it across the country. And so I am weirdly optimistic about this. But this is just insanity.
Mike, can I make a point about taxes?
Yeah.
Because it seems to be a big deal.
Big deal, yeah.
We pay in Denmark, we pay a high income tax. We have VAT. If you want to buy a car, the price is doubled by taxes of a car. So yes, we pay a lot of taxes. But if you go into Forbes' website, they name Denmark the best place in the world to start your own business. We have plenty of millionaires in Denmark. We have billionaires in Denmark. High taxes doesn't stifle enterprise. High taxes doesn't prevent you from owning 2 cars and a yacht and 2, beach houses. It just doesn't. Actually, it helps you build your fortune and build your business. When I can take a chance, because if I fail, I've got a welfare system that'll catch me and my kids.
Your infrastructure is far superior to ours at this point. just the infrastructure, the technology, everything is better there.
That's another thing. We've got companies in Denmark that are the leaders in the world within their businesses. Like our energy companies are cutting edge and some of the biggest in the world. So the high taxes, Americans, talk about a lot. Well, American media talk about taxes a
We're
lot.
not offended if you say Americans. We know. We know.
Our taxes go to war. Let's be honest. It's the
They go to war.
military-industrial complex. We want to know where they go. Track the money.
Yeah.
It's not going to regular people. It's going to all these folks. We've got Boeing. We've got Lockheed Martin. These are the people getting rich. That's where our tax money goes.
And to the pocketbooks of oil
The
executives.
Social Security programs we do have are so underfunded that they're badly managed. And there's no accountability, and the infrastructure for managing it is so bad.
Speaking of accountability, the Pentagon can't tell you where millions, if not billions of dollars have gone. And this is where we put our priority. And until we shift that, we have to shift that if we want anything to happen for this
We are
generation.
going to shift that. I'm not putting up with this any longer. I mean, I had it a long time ago, but I've really had it now. Whatever that place is beyond, I've had it. That's where I'm at, and I'm angry with these people from Denmark sitting here at this table because we should have everything that they have. What he just said about how business and enterprise and free thinking can thrive there, even in spite of the fact that they're rich, are taxed up the wazoo. And yet, if our great moment, the American moment after World War II, in the 50s and the 60s, all of our innovation, all of our invention, all the things that the rest of the world didn't have that we created here, we created that with our uber rich paying 80 to 90% of their income in taxes.
It's the most socialized period in American history.
That's correct. And also, yes, and there's actual film footage of the rich prancing around in Palm Beach and Palm Springs and anything with a palm, and they have huge mansions, and they're living the high life, paying 80 to 90% of taxes.
To his point, they have millionaires. They have people can still, be who they want to be. If that's on your list of things, right, you can still do that in Denmark.
And if you keep working hard enough, then we'll come here. But when they say, who's going to pay for Medicare for all? I'll tell you who. The private prison industry, the military-industrial complex, these oil executives who have the money put right into their pocketbooks with the money they'll no longer be getting. And I'll tell you who else will be paying it. The Space Force, which will cease to exist a year from now. Like, who's going to pay for Medicare, but we're going to pay to militarize space? Brilliant!
Yeah. The elderly are suffering too.
Yes. Oh, in so many ways.
Yes.
Okay, so answer me this. This is our big question in Des Moines here while we've been working with the Bernie campaign. Bernie right now, he's polling somewhere around 52% of 18 to 35-year-olds are for Bernie, the vast majority. And then I saw a poll, Bernie's ahead 18 to 45 years old. And then on Sunday they kept trying to they don't want Bernie to be the number one with young people, so they moved the polling question up 18 years old to 50 years old on Sunday, and he's number one with 18 to 50.
They can't push him out.
So the smallest group that is for Bernie is his age group, is the elderly. And I'm trying to understand this because generally,
Aren't they the wealthiest demographic?
well, they are and they aren't until if they're on retirement.
No, I mean,
They're on
in
Social
terms
Security.
of numbers,
They're-
they aren't very wealthy.
They're the demographic that's watching Fox News and they're getting brainwashed.
But also, I read,
that's the problem.
some friend told me that older people don't like people their own age. They like the nice young man.
They're not watching Fox News. They're not Democrats watching Fox News. They're just more conservative. Right? They're just voting for Joe Biden. They're just being more conservative.
Republican
What
light.
about boomers? What about boomers who grew up in the 60s and 70s?
Well, my stepdad was a kind of a hippie type of guy, and every time I say, "Come on, it's Bernie, it's Bernie, it's Bernie," he's always like, "I don't know." He doesn't want to get disappointed, I don't think. because I think he's been disappointed so many times that he doesn't want to set his hopes too high.
And I think they've given up. They're demoralized because you know what I don't get. It's like I hear people say, like people will literally say, like they could get these good services for free, and it scares them to not have to pay for it. I mean, like I'm getting these great services, and oh my God, what if I don't have to pay for it? Like, isn't it the general consensus that free stuff is good, like on commercials and for free?
They never had Napster. I mean, your generation is used to free music, free movies, free stuff.
Like an advertisement, like paid programming, and for free you get this. Everyone loves free stuff.
And it's just like you can't get something for nothing.
Right.
Yeah, so it's like, but it's not. See, the thing is, it's not free. You pay taxes for this. You pay taxes your whole life for this. When you reach a certain age, you should be able to. Wow, you know, I paid into this. Now I'm going to be taken care of. And just like when you're elderly, you have to pay property taxes to fund the schools. You don't have any kids in those schools.
Right.
Why should you have to pay taxes? Well, because you live in a society where it actually, if you want to just be selfish about it, it's better for you if you have an educated class of young people as opposed to, you know, cast members in Idiocracy or whatever. So, you guys ever see that movie?
Yes, I saw that.
Is that one of the greatest films?
When Trump got elected, it was I literally was like, we're watching Idiocracy like play out right now.
Right.
Because the president was a WWE wrestler
Right.
in Idiocracy.
Well, that's right. And he,
And
you know,
Trump was involved in
and he.
WWE.
Oh yeah, no. Have you seen the footage of Trump when he went on
Yes,
WWE?
I have. It's fascinating how right that movie was. It was a terrible movie. Like, it wasn't funny.
No, it's not a great piece of cinema,
But it was right.
but it's weirdly prescient
Yeah.
now when you look at it.
They had skyscrapers made of garbage because nobody like recycled or cared about the environment.
Right.
So that's exactly
And
what
yeah, and they irrigated the farm fields with Mountain Dew. The movie maker. He's imagining the United States of America 300 years from now. And if we keep dumbing down the way we've been dumbing ourselves down, you know, just imagine what the year 2500 looks like.
Well, actually, I think we'll all be underwater in 10.
Yeah, we may not make it out of this century.
Let's be honest. We still have to fight for Bernie.
Well, she and I and these two, we won't be around to watch you swim. Good luck.
Try to swim, yeah.
Please try not to blame us.
Maybe we'll come up with
You did your
water
part.
villages.
My brother's girlfriend was a midwife in West Virginia doing, or not a midwife, she's working with a midwife nonprofit in West Virginia. And there's some rumor, and I don't know if it's true, but she went to a lot of families educating them not to put Mountain Dew with baby formula because apparently the corporation who owns Mountain Dew told people that that was good for the baby.
Well, I remember the line you said at the end of your of capitalism. I refuse to live in a country like this, and I'm not leaving. And that was 11 years ago. And think of what we are now 11 years later.
Well, we're massively worse off. And not just because of Trump, because Trump did not fall out of the sky. We have a system that allowed Trump to exist, to thrive in New York City all those years, and then actually win the presidency by losing the election. And, you know, he has no American in him, this guy, Niels. So, have you been able to explain the Electoral College to him? Or?
Yes, actually.
Well,
Because I have a lot of family in the countryside.
Yeah.
So when I talk to foreigners about the Electoral College, I try to represent their feelings about like their political needs are being ignored by Washington, so they support the Electoral College. And I don't know what
you don't need the Electoral College if you have a government that seeks to represent the entire country. I mean, I can see why people in South Dakota are afraid of being ignored, because South Dakota is far away from Washington. But if you have a government that truly cares about not running pipelines through your land, And if you have a government that truly cares about making sure, even though you live 100 miles from the nearest hospital, you will be taken care of in some way.
Okay, so how does the Electoral College then help South Dakota? Because some of our poorest counties are in South Dakota.
Sure.
Our native
that's
people,
the
and the pipeline.
Sure.
Yeah, that is the huge irony of we'll be forgotten. You're already forgotten. You're fooling yourself if you're. Let me tell you who will care about South Dakota. People who live in New York and Michigan, Illinois, because we need your food. We need the things you produce, and nobody's going to let Iowa or South Dakota or whatever go down the drain because we couldn't live without you. How about that? How about trust that we're not so stupid we would kill our food supply.
Why did you decide to come to Iowa and do this tour?
The decision I made back in the fall, I was starting to prep my next film, and we were going to do a TV series, and I thought I can't be working on my thing this year. I have to work for the people I live with in this country, and so I've decided to take this year and do that. And I started by 6 weeks ago. I started a podcast.
I saw it.
So yeah, oh good. It's called Rumble. I'm going to do some other things like that, but things where I can communicate on a daily or weekly basis. I'm going to be out in other states. I committed to 12 days here for Bernie, especially because he's on jury duty back in the U.S. Senate.
Yeah.
So he needed people like me. He's got Ben and Jerry doing a thing today, so I'm going to go do something with them.
Thank you so much for coming.
No, thank
On
you.
behalf of all of Iowans out there, just being that face, for the real world.
And I'm Flint, Michigan too.
You're what?
They're not alone. I'm Flint, Michigan too.
That's right. You are. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Thank
She's
you.
saying we all are.
I know. Yes, we all. If we don't have that attitude, we're doomed.
Now, Mike, two things. Do you care to spoil us about what your next film's about?
You know what? I can't. The one I was working on, maybe I'll pick it up at the end of the year. Maybe I won't. Maybe we'll be in a whole different place. Maybe Trump won't leave after he loses. Who knows what's going to happen? I can't make any plan right now until I know that we're safe and we're on the road to recovery. So I'm doing everything I can do, and if everybody does their little part, collectively, we're going to be okay.
If I can add, this is the biggest year in American history, and in my opinion, this is the biggest election. It's one of the biggest years, but the biggest election, bigger than 1860 and 1864, in which we were on the verge of and near the end of the Civil War. Because if Trump wins re-election this year, we're done. He gets to add 2 more loyalists to the Supreme Court. When the question asks, well, how could he seek unlimited terms? And the Supreme Court says, hell yeah. Yes, they just directly defy the 22nd Amendment. Who's going to stop him? The Hague? They're the final say. He can run for unlimited terms. He can cancel elections if he wants. And this is why we absolutely have to stop him. And I said in 2008 2 things. That 1, fascism would eventually come to America, and 2, what we truly need in this country is another FDR. And Bernie is an FDR. And Bernie is the one guy who can create a mass movement in this country to stop Trump. If you're thinking about voting for other candidates, listen. Bernie, yes, he's a leftist, but guess who else ran as a leftist? Obama. There was a Slate article a few weeks ago about how he was reminding people how he was too left. There was the Reverend Wright. He even called people in the Midwest gunslingers who were blaming their economy, or I forgot what it was, but it was like they were gunslingers. And it's like, he's done. He told Joe the plumber, I'm going to spread the wealth equally. And Palin says, that to me sounds like socialism. That is socialism. He didn't deny it. And guess what? He destroyed McCain. Bernie would have won Wisconsin by 78,000 votes, Michigan by 84,000, Pennsylvania by 190,000. This is not a hard choice. You vote for Bernie, and we win in November. And I said, and so did Mike, that Trump was going to win in 2016. Because you could feel the political climate that year. I know in my heart that Bernie devours Trump. No question. So that is why.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Wonderful people, powerful words, a great time in Iowa. 12 of my most interesting and exciting days in many, many years. So glad to be there. My thanks to my crew and my family and other friends, people who were there to help out especially our executive producer, Basil Hamden, and our sound engineers, Nick and Donald, and thanks to Veronica and Leah and everybody else, and to our security who kept us safe, as always. All right, we'll talk to you tomorrow here on Rumble. I'm Michael Moore.
Don't you know you're talking about a revolution? It sounds like a whisper. Don't you know you're talking about a revolution? It sounds like a whisper. While they're standing in the welfare lines, crying at the doorsteps of those armies of salvation, wasting time in the unemployment lines, sitting around waiting for a promotion. Don't you know they're talking about a revolution? It sounds